up, everybody? Welcome to 5 Raw TV. Well, tonight we got something very interesting, and you guys see the title, and I tell you what, there are many people out there right now after watching this video that owe me an apology, plain and simple. You know, I've never asked for one before. I'm not asking one for one now, but you definitely owe me an apology. There's no doubt about it. Throughout the years on YouTube, etc., I have talked about, posted things, and proven many times about different things that wound up being true. And just because people didn't understand them, or I didn't have the scientific literature in front of me, or they didn't understand how this bro science was working before the scientific literature caught up to the bro science, it's Jerry, you're stupid, you're a bro, you don't know science, follow the science, it's all about science, Jerry. And one of the things that I got my balls busted about and people made fun of me for was I said you can gain muscle in a deficit, right? And you can lose fat in a surplus. And good Lord, the cackles, it was like a bunch of hyenas laughing out there talking about how, Jerry, you know, you have to be in a surplus to gain weight. You have to be in a deficit to lose weight. That's just science. It's all about thermodynamics. It's all about calories. It's calories in, calories out. That's all it is, Jerry. It's very simple. Eat more calories, you'll gain weight. Eat less calories, you lose weight. Jerry, you're stupid, stupid. And it was like punched into me over and over again for years. Other people made videos making fun of me. Other people talked in forums making fun of me. I was a laughing stock about the fact that I said these things. Even though I could produce it in front of people on camera, they still made fun of me. Wow. I knew that the people making fun of me were a lot younger than me. They didn't have the training time I did, didn't have the experience I did, they didn't see the things that I've seen, they didn't train naturally and train with drugs, both, to get both sides of things. They didn't understand what I was talking about, but I knew if they kept training long enough, they would find out the things that I'm talking about. It just takes time for you to go through all the things that I've gone through to figure out these different things. You don't all of a sudden just decide to be a bodybuilder and you know everything based because there's scientific literature about everything and you know everything. That's not how it works. You learn from experience, and then you learn things when you experience don't necessarily line up with the things that are in those scientific journals and papers. And then you go, well, how can that be? And that was one of those things. I have gained muscle in a deficit. I've seen it. I've had my clients do it naturally with no drugs. So one of the people that I respect a great deal, I followed him for years. I've, I wouldn't say we're friends because we don't really hang out, but if I see him, I love to talk to him and hang out with him. He's a great guy. His name is Alberto Nunez. And he gets to be one of the most shredded motherfuckers on the planet. He's got one of the best natural physiques that fucking I think I've ever walked the planet, my personal opinion, right? And his guys and 3DMJ, which is also Eric Helms and a couple of the other guys who I'm not that familiar with, I follow them, and I think they have good, sound, advice. I think they have a good grasp of the science and stuff like that, and they get results, right? But I also knew that the longer that these guys train, they're going to learn things that scientific stuff actually isn't teaching them. They're going to see things, they're going to learn things, and them themselves are going to kind of come around to be saying things like, well, this is interesting, that's interesting, and they're going to start experimenting on their own and learning things, and here we are. So on Alberto's Instagram page, Eric Helms put a video up. Or Alberto put the video up of Eric Helms on his, let me pull it up right here, on his Instagram page. And what I found really interesting in this, I'm going to put the clip in here right now, was that Eric Helms himself states that you can gain muscle in a deficit. And he goes on to give examples. That is the exact thing that I said that all these people made fun of me for. Just like when I talked about essential amino acids, all 9 essential amino acids being needed to build muscle, right? That scientific literature is out there. Not just the branched chains, but all 9 are needed to build muscle. They laughed at me. Keto diets. The old keto diet was very low in protein. For an athlete, you need higher protein. And it became, well, Jerry, then it kicks you out of ketosis. Kicks you out of ketosis if you have more protein than you need. An athlete needs more protein than the average person. Therefore, the protein needs change if you're going to use a ketogenic or a cycloketogenic diet as an athlete. People laughed at me. However, this doctor ran an experiment and actually wrote a book, then sent me the book to review based on the things that I was saying because she thought I was right, and she found that I was right. And here we are again. Now, Eric, I'm going to put up the little blurb right here of it where he talks about it.
And it is possible to gain muscle mass in a calorie deficit if certain criteria are met. If someone is very high in body fat, that means that they're going to have plenty of excess calories on their body to liberate to replace that deficit so that it is easier to then use their ingested calories and the protein you're consuming and your surplus from food to build muscle. Likewise, if you're a novice and you have very few muscular adaptations to training, and those adaptations occur very easily because progressive overload has such a low threshold to occur, then you're going to see muscle growth despite being in a calorie deficit. Also, if the calorie deficit isn't too severe, that can also mean that you can put on muscle, albeit at a lower pace. So weight training in and of itself is both a anabolic and catabolic signal. If you think about it, anytime you're doing muscular work, there's going to be damage to tissue and a little bit of muscle breakdown. But of course, it's also giving you the stimulus for muscle to then rebuild and build itself even larger and stronger over time. And just because you're dieting doesn't necessarily change that mechanism. Okay. So another useful way to think about it is that while yes, dieting reduces your ability to recover, the principles for gaining muscle are the same whether you're in a surplus or deficit.
Okay, so there you guys see right there that he says right off the bat that you can gain, and then let me just put this thing up here. He said it is possible to gain muscle mass in a calorie deficit if certain criteria are met. That's what I said. And all these people made fun of me, but now Eric Helms is saying it. He's the guy that's very scientific. He's the guy that knows all the science. He's the guy that these young guys went to learn everything because he knows everything because of the science. Now, I'm not knocking Eric, but what I'm saying is now he sees things and understands things on a different level. It's gone from being papers and studies that you've read to applying things and learning other things and going back and finding that information to be true. Now, he doesn't only just say that, but he gives some examples. He says if somebody has very high body fat, that means they're going to have plenty of excess calories, right, to their bodies to liberate and replace that deficit. So it's easier to use those ingested calories and protein you're consuming from your surplus to build muscle mass, right? Interesting, right? All the stuff I said. Likewise, if you're a novice and you have very few muscular adaptations to training, and those adaptations occur very easily because progressive overload has such a low threshold to occur, you're going to see muscle growth despite being in a calorie deficit. Now, that's two circumstances that he said you can gain muscle in a caloric deficit. My thing is this. If Eric Helms, 3DMJ, and Alberto Nunez all follow the science, and that's what they're known for, and they are now saying the same fucking thing I said 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, I was not fucking wrong. I took your fucking hits when I was trying to help you. I was trying to fucking explain to you guys that what you're seeing, you don't have to accept slow gains. You don't have to put yourself in it fucking drove me nuts because I would show you example after example. And I would do it myself. I would have my clients do it, and I would show it. I would physically show it. Despite what everybody was saying and laughing at me, I would physically show those things to you, and people didn't believe me. Well, now here we have the people that they looked up to, or maybe they still do look up to. Who knows? And maybe, at some point, maybe like Eric and those guys were the ones saying, like, no, you have to be in a deficit. I mean, more than likely back in the day, they thought that. They thought you had to be in a deficit to lose fat, and they thought you had to be in a surplus to gain muscle. However, the body can do it. Whether you're a newbie, we've seen people on steroids do it. If the body can do it, it's just a matter of finding what it takes for that person's body to do it. Which means if you're playing around with the macros and the training and you're using, let's be real, progressive overload is great, but progressive overload within a certain rep range and even things like training to failure will cause a stimulation. It will cause a stimulant effect to the muscle in the body to change the hormonal environment. The food that you put in your body, it tells your body what to do. That food tells your body to raise insulin, to move it around. It tells your body to raise growth hormone. It tells your body to repair itself once you put the food inside. You train, the body starts to go through the process of having the stimulation, having the damage, right? You put the food, it says, hey, build now, build, recover, here you go, here's the things. So the people are not realizing that the hormones are really what changes your body, and the food and the training is the stimulus, and the building blocks when used together with the hormones changes the body. But it's the hormones that dictate whether or not you gain in a deficit or lose in a surplus. It is the hormones that react to the training and the diet, which is exactly what I said. Hormonal manipulation through food. Go back 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I was talking about hormonal manipulation through food. And here we are in 2021, and the people that were the scientific community, and again, I like these guys, got nothing wrong with them, I'm just saying, they have caught up to where I was 7, 8 years ago when I was talking about this stuff. And I'm not asking for an apology from them because they weren't the ones fucking with me. I think at this point, where they are and where I am, my age, their age, where we've all been around, we've all, basically done our thing, we've been around each other, we've seen a lot, we've done a lot, we've experienced a lot. I think more than ever now, people like 3DMJ, Alberto Nunez, Erica Helms, myself, we're on the same page. I think that right now is when we could really make breakthroughs with helping people because we all know the same things that we're talking about now that we wouldn't necessarily have been on the same page for before. On top of that, there's a level of respect and admiration from, at least on my side, to them, that I understand that they were young and they're going through this stuff, and the more that they grow as individuals, and the more they train, the more they learn, training is scientific. But there's a point where it becomes an art form. There's a point where the human brain can take the human body to places that scientific literature really just hasn't studied. Okay, they've never taken Tom Platz and seen what Tom Platz can do to his body by using the power of his mind. I would love to see a study on that. I would love to see how his hormones change naturally. I would love to see how fast he built muscle, how fast he recovered. I would love to see all that stuff, but that's not going to happen. But the bottom line is once you learn that training can go from being scientific to an art form, it's where you lose yourself in the training. It's where you take your training to the next level. And the beginners is like progressive overload. Try to add a couple pounds a week. Try to add a couple pounds a week, etc. Now all of a sudden you're training within certain rep ranges to cause more hypertrophy. You want more type 2 fibers to be hit, right? Well, now all of a sudden you're trying different training techniques. You're trying advanced training techniques. You're learning about things that the hormones work like this, the food works like this. Oh shit, we can do this and this happens. The more that you do this, the longer you do this, the more you learn. The more that you learn, the more that you apply, the more that you see that those couple things that you thought were cut and dry with scientific papers and journals, that's the beginning. That's for beginners. That's to try to find where to start. There is a whole nother realm that goes into this training, diet, drugs, all of that stuff. A whole nother realm that the average person or even an advanced trainee will never fucking experience or know in their entire life. It has to be not an advanced trainee, a passionate trainee. Someone that is so passionate about training, someone that is so passionate about dieting, someone that is so passionate about giving it their all and changing their physique to take their physique to a level that they never thought it would be. Take their physique to a level that somebody else couldn't get them, they're coaching them. Taking their knowledge, their mind to a level that most of the people that were making fun of me will never be able to understand because they've never experienced it, therefore they cannot comprehend it. And here we are. The individuals that didn't necessarily agree with me before are now saying the same things that I said before. And I'll tell you what, it sucked. It sucked to be the only one out there talking about these things, even though there were people around me that are like, you're right, because I've done this. You're right, I've done this. I mean, fasted and non-fasted cardio are a whole nother ballgame. A same thing. I've talked to Alan Argon about it before, and we've come to a conclusion that there is something that hasn't been studied that there might be to it, that fasted cardio is different than fed cardio. There's absolutely a difference when applied the right way. That's the problem. Everybody thinks that there's one way. There's so many ways to apply cardio, so many ways to apply carb cycling, ketogenic diets, cyclo-ketogenic diets. You can do protein loading, protein depleting, and protein loading. You can do certain things that will make your body overcompensate with protein and actually put on more muscle just like your carb loading. There's so much most people don't know about because not only have they never heard of it, but when they do hear about it, they won't try it. They won't experiment. They will literally go out and look for any fucking paper they can, any article they can, any fucking research they can. And when they can't find it, because bodybuilding isn't really research, guys. Let's be real. And when they can't find it, they go, oh, it must not be real because science says this. Well, science doesn't really give a shit about the Mr. Olympia. Science doesn't really give a shit about you and your show. It doesn't give a shit about powerlifting. It doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff. Science wants to make sure they know how the body works so they can heal people and keep them healthy. That's not what we do. We're athletes. It's different. Now, big sports that are in the mainstream, football, baseball, soccer, etc., those sports get studied. They have come light years from training for those sports. From when I started training with weights, they've come light years with training. I've watched it, and they have improved athletes. None of that stuff was even heard of. Rubber bands and stuff like that. Go back in 1970 and tell them that rubber bands are going to help you. They're going to help you jump higher. They're going to help you run faster. They would have laughed you off the fucking stage. But here we are. There's parachutes that they use for sprinting. Go back in 1970 and tell them that that was going to help. They would laugh in your fucking face. But here we are. So guys, be aware. Sometimes, you know, being the lone wolf and saying things that other people don't understand and don't agree with, it's not fun. It's hard, you know, and it wears on you sometimes. You know, I just step back and I go, fuck you guys. Figure it out for yourself. I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to take my clients and do what we do. We're going to get fast results, big results, fast results, hard results, all fucking quick. And you guys do whatever the fuck you want. Because I knew this day would come. I knew for a fact that eventually this shit would catch up and we'd all be on the same page, hopefully. Well, actually, no, I didn't know if, because there's going to be guys and girls that never even made it to this point. They've already stopped training. They've had kids. They've moved on with their lives. They stopped competing. You know, there are people that are not passionate about it. But the people that are passionate about training and diet, truly passionate about this shit. This is 31 years I've been doing this. The people that are truly passionate will find out the truth in the end. And we will all be on the same page, which I feel like right now, I feel more on the same page with them than I ever been before. And I've been following those guys. Like I said, I have the utmost respect for those guys, and I agree that they're great. But the bottom line is, sometimes when you hear that person talking about something they can show you, they're adamant this is the truth, don't blow them off. He might be ahead of the curve. He or she might be ahead of the curve. You might be able to improve yourself by listening to them and not just going with the crowd. I don't go with the crowd. I never did. And now it seems that the crowd has caught up to me. BioStrengthTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BioStrength.com is a blog. It's the Here We Are bicep, and we're out.